Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Yukari Stadium in Sendai, Japan, for ESPN's coverage of the Kirin Cup, three-nation tournament featuring three of the top four women's international teams in the world. And it's the United States against Japan getting us started. Adrian Healy joined by Julie Foudy. And Julie, this is the USA lineup this morning.
And they are back to their 4-4-2, as Tony mentioned. And, of course, the topic everyone's talking about is Alex Morgan up top. 9 goals in her 6 starts for the United States, since she has literally, as Tony mentioned, forced them back into this 4-4-2.
Alex Morgan is the player who will partner Abby Wambach up front. And you heard Tony mention it, Kelly O'Hara, one of the stories for the US. It's been a problem position for them left back, and Kelly O'Hara will be the solution for Pia Sundhage, at least for now.
Yeah, they've really struggled with that. And then losing Ali Krieger on top of it on the right side. They're hoping she is the solution for the Olympics.
Well, it's not even 9 months since that heartbreaking loss in Frankfurt for Abby Wambach and company. They've had another chance since then to get one over on Japan, but they lost to them again in the Algarve Cup, didn't they? 1-0. And 2 consecutive games without a victory against Japan. There will be a moment of silence here before kickoff in Sendai. We're very close to the epicenter of the earthquake and tsunami that devastated the country just over a year ago, and the victims remembered here with a minute's silence before kickoff.
To all the victims of the Japan earthquake on last March 11th, we would like to extend our sympathy. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and offer the silent prayer. 黙祷。皆様、ご着席ください。
The Yukari Stadium in Sendai, our venue. And thanks again for joining us so early as the United States continue their preparation towards the Olympic Games. Adrian Healy and Julie Foudy and Pia Sundhage building towards those games. It's going to be fascinating to see how she deals with the challenges ahead, because she has got to get this squad down to 18, and there's a lot of competition in a lot of places.
World Cup squads were 21, so she's got to slash 3 players to get to that Olympic roster.
So Japan in the dark blue will get us underway. And Yuki Nagasato, one of their heroes from the World Cup. Still Norio Sasaki, the man in charge for the Japanese. Lauren Cheney getting a first touch for the US, nodded on from Morgan. Abby Wambach prowling inside the penalty area immediately. Max and Tony talk about it just before kickoff. This stylistic change to accommodate Alex Morgan is one of the main talking points, really, for the US women's team at the moment. Alex Morgan forcing her way into the starting lineup. How can you not start her in the form that she's in?
Well, and there have been a lot of people clamoring for her to start, so she's proved her case quite well. 9 goals, as we said, in her 6 starts. And brings such a dimension to that front line because she's got such pace.
Here's Ono for the Japanese. Miyama taking over. Japan without their inspirational leader from the World Cup, but Homare Sawa. Sawa diagnosed with a fairly obscure form of vertigo, Julian. She's been out for close to a month.
Yeah, what a loss for Japan. But they're just hoping she can get back fit enough for the Olympics. But She's talked about it happened at the Algarve Cup and just dizziness, you know, all the symptoms of vertigo. And she said her body doesn't feel bad, but she can't keep her balance.
That was Rachel Bueller with a sharp challenge there on Shinobu Ono. Welcome to the game challenge, I think you can call that. Alex Morgan, 11 goals in 9 games in 2012 so far. And we should point out, Julie, that only one of those goals came in those lopsided victories at the start of the year against Dominican Republic and Guatemala in Olympic qualifying. Let's have a look now at our Gatorade Prime to Perform. Who have you picked out for us, Julie?
Well, this is a topic we're going to be talking a lot about today, as we can tell by the first 5 minutes. Alex Morgan. And that to sustain these levels will be the challenge for her, but my goodness, what a start she's had with given the opportunity.
Yeah, particularly impressive was that hat-trick she scored in the last game for the US against Sweden. It was the third place game in the Algarve Cup. Yukari Kinga. A couple of notable absences for Japan from the side that prevailed at the World Cup, including Iwashimizu, one of their main defenders. She's not here. Sawa, we told you about. Iwabuchi is another. But for the most part, still the squad that Norio Sasaki led to triumph in Germany. This ball fed down the line. Cross coming in is a challenge. And Bueller getting it away. Lauren Cheney just too far ahead of Abby Wambach, who'd peeled away.
And there's a look at Lauren Cheney, who's playing on that left side of midfield for the United States, but she loves to come inside. She'll tuck in a lot. She's used to playing a more central role. That was part of the reason the United States switched to that 4-5-1 formation, because they wanted her to sit in behind there and distribute for them.
Shannon Box, that's it looked to be nicely weighted. It just skipped off the turf in the end, as Alex Morgan made that darting run into the penalty area.
You can tell it's cold, it's slick. It's a fast field they're playing on right now.
Yeah, it's still very chilly in this part of Japan. Sendai up in the northeastern corner of the country. There was still snow on the ground when the US women's team arrived a few days ago. And she took the bullet train up from Japan, flew into Japan and took the 220-mile bullet train ride in 90 minutes.
That's the way to roll, isn't it? I'd like one of those between Orange County and Los Angeles, actually.
Rachel Bueller. Short of Lauren Cheney. Nagasato is fouled. Yuki Nagasato. Having quite a season for herself, hasn't she? She still plays in Germany with Turbine Potsdam.
Potsdam leading the Bundesliga right now with just 1 point in the semifinals of the Champions League as well for the women's side. And that's been the difference right there in Japan's play, and especially during the World Cup. Going into the World Cup, I kept thinking, I'm not sure they have the bite in them. And now that's what you're seeing with this Japanese team. They've always had the technical capabilities. Now they have the physical side they're bringing as well.
What a remarkable run it was for them, beating Germany, remember, in that quarter-final. Sweden and then the US on penalties. The victory over the US last month in the Algarve came courtesy of a 1-0 win, a late header for them.
And if you think about it, going into that World Cup, they have to play Germany, the hosts, who are the defending world champions in the quarterfinals. Japan does. They beat them, have to play Sweden, a team they'd only ever beaten twice, and then they play the U.S. in the final, a team they had never beaten in 25 attempts. I mean, it was a remarkable run, especially given what the country had been through in the 4 months prior.
It's been very interesting seeing the reception the United States have had here. They've been really treated almost like rock stars. Japanese crowd really responded to the way the United States players conducted themselves in that defeat to Japan.
You see Rachel Bueller making a last-minute step there to keep the line.
Aya Samashima, number 5, playing at left back. Sakaguchi was fouled. Japan, like the US, of course, building towards the Olympics this summer. The US qualified fairly easily. The qualification tournament was held in September in China. They qualified along with North Korea from Asia. It's Miyama. She's still the fulcrum for so much of the Japanese attack. Kawasumi. Header down from Abby Wambach, but no one quite able to latch on.
And you can see in the first 10 minutes, both teams just trying to get some type of rhythm. And for the U.S., one of the keys is just giving Japan little time on the ball. Give them space, and they will just pass it and move the entire game. You're going to do a lot of chasing.
Touch from Nagasato. You see them already getting into that pass and move groove they really delighted audiences around the world with in the summer. It's funny, Julie, looking back at the build-up for Japan to the World Cup, but Norio Sasaki, you remember him in May, so just a month before the World Cup started, saying they were going to treat the World Cup as a training camp for next summer's Olympics. They didn't really rate their own chances of winning it that highly.
Yeah, well, the odds for them winning it were 12-1 coming in.
The race is on here for Rachel Bueller, and she just did enough. Shinobu Ono was bursting into a promising position. Hope Solo, it's her first real action.
And this is the right midfield coming through for Japan. Ono, always known for her pace, a very good finisher as well. And this is a problem area for the United States, that center back position. Bueller trying to clear it, just misclears it a little bit, and Hope Solo quick to come off her line to smother it. But it's that midfielder running through that creates so many problems.
Hope Solo, the second goalkeeper to reach 100 caps in the history of the US women's program. Brianna Scurry is the leader in that department with 173. Solo in action again as the shot was a fairly tame one in the end. Miyama is more than capable, isn't she, from long distance?
And she loves to strike them from distance. This is very typical of her. She's going to pick it up at the top of the box and doesn't get all of it there, but she can, because she can rip them from there. Fans of the WPS will remember her ability to strike a ball from distance. Played for the Los Angeles Soul, St. Louis Athletica.
Miyama scoring a goal in normal time and a penalty in the shootout. The final in Frankfurt. She was a constant menace, wasn't she, from corner kicks and free kicks throughout the tournament. In fact, her corner kick set up the only goal of the game at the Algarve Cup back at the start of March for Megan Takasi. Her header in the 84th minute, winning the game. Christy Rambone, cap number 255 for her today. Floats in the free kick. It was a nice one too. A bit of indecision in the Japanese defence. Alex Morgan trying to create a second opportunity. Can't quite do so. Sakaguchi losing out. Shannon Box and Abby Wambach in the vicinity.
U.S. just struggling a little bit to get possession of the ball. Japan settling a little faster than the United States. And as we mentioned earlier, Alex Morgan brings such a dimension to that front line because she has such pace. She stretches defense. She takes some pressure off of Abby Wambach up top.
Heather O'Reilly, her first real contribution. Feeds the run into the channel of Alex Morgan, but she has two for company. Make that three. Heather O'Reilly, an amazing run that ended earlier this year. Consecutive appearances as Cheney with some good work, engineers a corner. Be the first of the game for the US.
And this is where the US has such an advantage because of their height difference. Japanese, traditionally a smaller team, not as good defending set pieces. Abby Wambach, of course, for the United States, a target on that back post.
They've worked it shorts. The header on target, but right at goalkeeper Kaihori. It was Rachel Bueller who was on the end of the cross. It was well worked, wasn't it, the short corner?
Especially because you get Japan pulling out, so there's gaps. There's one right there. Obviously a play the United States has been working on, and Heather O'Reilly's just trying to drive it in there. Unfortunately hit right at the Japanese goalkeeper Kaihori.
Rachel Bueller, who scored a goal in the World Cup against North Korea. It's only the second she has scored for the US in 76 appearances. Long run here for Cheney. Picked off by O'Hara. Now Box. Abby Wambach. Fluid switch of flanks by the US. O'Reilly give her help from Lapelbert in getting it. It's a good exchange of passes. O'Reilly to the byline, and that'll be another corner as the US start to string some passes together now
and start to get their outside backs forward. Lapelbert, the right back for the United States, a little bit hesitant sometimes to get forward, and you can see when she does, she can get Heather O'Reilly in on that flank as well.
Different approach this time from the corner. Cheney floating it in. It was up for grabs, wasn't it? Carly Lloyd seemed to have an unchallenged header.
Right in the middle there, finding a seam.
Carly Lloyd, who's had a pretty good goal-scoring year so far too, with 7 goals and 10 appearances. She's played in all 10 games the US women have played so far in 2012. Year that started with the Olympic qualification process up in Vancouver. It was a process that was very much a breeze in the end for the US.
Lot of goals on the score sheet as well.
5 wins, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Mexico, Costa Rica and Canada all dispatched. As you can see, overall, impressive record in 2012. Just that one defeat, the one blot on their copybook, as they're trying to extract some measure of revenge for today.
And the U.S. is happy to get another corner out of that one. Samashima knocking it out. Shannon Box, another target for the United States.
All sorts of targets for Cheney, but it's an easy header away for Sakaguchi. Abby Wambach, I mentioned the reception the US players have got here. She has been the rock star. Her Q factor is through the roof.
Yeah, I was speaking with Aaron Heifetz, who is the press officer for the United States team, has been for years, and he said she's a rock star over here. You know, not just the Japanese team, people have been stopping Abby everywhere they go.
I think a lot of the Japanese public responded to the way that she reacted to defeat last summer. Grace under pressure.
So impressed by that. The emotion of the moment, knowing how badly she wanted that World Cup.
The Pelba has done well here. It's swept away by Tanaka. Shannon Box looking for the run of Cheney and connecting. Good sharp turn by Lauren Cheney. Nothing quite came of it, but they are starting to really plug away on that right-hand side.
It took the U.S. about 15 minutes to get their rhythm, but you can see them getting some confidence, holding the ball better.
Well, the errant pass that time from Cheney, giving it away, and a chance to counter-attack here for Kawasumi. Samashima didn't quite get that right.
And this will be a good test for the Japanese side without Sawa. Their captain, leading goal scorer, 80 goals for Japan. 80 goals. The second behind her is at not even half of that, 37, I believe. And that's Ono, number 11, the right midfielder.
Well, there was almost a self-inflicted wound there by the US defence, but they got away with it. Solo's clearance seemed to present an opportunity there for Japan. But here's Carly Lloyd. Shannon Box with the distribution to Heather O'Reilly. 74 consecutive appearances for the US that ended in January. Amazing run of 4.5 years without missing a game. And Pia Sundhage.
Looking a little stressed, actually. I never see that from her.
Yeah, normally the most laid-back coach you could ever want to beat, but it's her 93rd game in charge here for the US reign.
Usually she's singing or dancing on the sidelines.
So relaxed in Germany, wasn't she?
Makes such a difference to the team, to the atmosphere.
O'Reilly trying to pose a problem for Samashima. Pelbert trying to aid and abet, but not allowed to get away with that. Kawasumi.
And Amy Lepelbit typically on the left side or in a center back position, now assuming that right back position because of the loss of Ali Krieger in the Olympic qualifiers.
Lepelbit had been almost a converted left back, hadn't she? There's problems in that right back spot right now as Nagasato. Forces her back, but good exchange of passes. Real danger here for the US. Danger removed by Kelly O'Hara. A timely intervention.
A really nice sequence for Japan. All started with Amy Lepelbit trying to get forward on that right side, so there was a bit of a gap on the back line for the United States.
Still, you see it when they get that quick passing game going. Japanese so hard to contend with. Bueller has to come across in a hurry here.
And when they get their outside backs forward, as you see there in Samashima, something when Japan is playing well, they do quite well. Here's the sequence from before. You can see their ability to just break down defenses. 1 and 2 touch, give and goes.
Midway point of the first half, and the US will remember all about corners from Miyama. Different sort of approach this time. The shot is on. It's not that far wide. Hope Solo will feel she had it covered. She had a defender on the post as well.
And as you mentioned, Adrian, Japan scored on a corner against the United States in their last meeting at the Algarve Cup. And you'll notice there is Heather O'Reilly on that back post. They didn't have a back post player at the Algarve Cup. Now they're putting 2 post players up there. And boy, did she strike that well. Just wide. But set piece is giving the United States a bit of a problem, especially from a team that is not necessarily known for its set piece strength.
Now the sloppy pass is picked off by Cheney. It's a lovely feed ball just beyond the reach of Alex Morgan. Very nearly capitalized on a Japanese error here.
And this is where Lauren Cheney is so good, running at defenses, trying to slip balls.
Alex Morgan trying to create more havoc. Swept away by Kinga. Kinga again. Kelly O'Hara, 2023. She was the Herman Trophy winner at the time with Stanford.
As a forward for Stanford, a very prolific forward, mind you. And now she's at that outside back position, trying to convert, as they did very successfully with a Brandy Chastain and a Joy Fawcett, are 2 examples from earlier days.
Kelly will be very happy with that comparison, Julie.
Well, it's always great to take a forward who has that attacking mentality and make him into a defender.
Now look at this from Japan again. It's Rachel Bueller, who had to be very steady defensively. He threatened to break through. Often it's been the last line of defense that's come in with the saving tackle. Bueller, the latest example. Tanaka. The offside flag didn't come up. They seem to be waiting for it. It's Tanaka again, just trying to battle her way through. Can smell a possession this for the Japanese as they look for the breakthrough. Kinga. Nagasato. That'll be a free kick. Damage from Lauren Cheney from behind. And again, Aya Miyama, set piece specialist. The open player. Oh, it's not cleared by Shannon Box. And the follow-up shot was a snap effort and pulled wide. Again, some problems posed.
And Shannon Box almost looked like it hit her hand, just unable to clear that ball. So dangerous if you cannot get that out of your box. Really shouldn't even be able to bounce. Japan getting another good look.
Torio Sasaki. To his 5th year As head coach now of the Nadeshiko of Japan. But this is a 3-team tournament. We'll have another game for you on Tuesday. Have to get up early again, I'm afraid, 7 a.m. Eastern. A rematch of that classic quarter-final from last year's Women's World Cup, the US against Brazil. Hope you can join Julie and I, 7 a.m. Tuesday Eastern time. For the US's second game in this 3-team competition. Morgan making some headway. Cleared with the minimum of fuss by Japan.
And you can see a new confidence to Japan. That's what happens when you win a World Cup.
Yes, that'll do it.
But Japan always, to me, has been such a nice team to watch, but they didn't ever have that next step, that next level, and you're seeing it now. A swagger that wasn't there before.
They seemed to get better and better as the World Cup went on, didn't they? Stunning quarter-final win against Germany. Really made everyone sit up and take notice after they'd lost their final group game to England, remember. Huge underdogs going into that quarter-final against the host nation.
And they'd only gotten out of their group once in their 5 prior World Cups. I mean, it's such a remarkable story.
It's a fine crossfield ball for Heather O'Reilly, who's making a beeline towards a penalty area. It was an acrobatic clearance facing her own goal there. That was Utsuji. Got the ball away. Three of the top 4 nations in the world ranked by FIFA in this Kirin Cup. US at number 1, Japan all the way up to number 3 now, and Brazil at number 4. It's interesting all over the top. Rampone is in the right place, though.
U.S. struggling to get a hold of the ball and create a rhythm. Japan just keeping it, moving it. And as a player, that just gets so frustrating when you spend 30 minutes chasing.
Christy Rampone up to 4th all-time now in terms of caps won for the US women's national team. Only 1 place behind you, Julie. She's closing in on you.
And with 2 kids. How about that? Along the way.
I don't know if she's going to catch you, though. Needs another 20 caps, and this will be her last Olympics, won't it? I think that's been the theme for a lot of these US players who are perhaps facing their last big tournament. Can they go out with a gold medal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you go up the spine of the team, Hope Solo in her 30s, Shannon Box, Christy Rampone in her 30s, Abby Wambach. Never know, though. See another quad out of them.
I was going to say, you get the feeling, particularly with Abby, that there's at least one World Cup left in her. Some unfinished business there. That's a nicely weighted pass for Kawasumi again, though. Christy Rampone and Rachel Bueller have had to get in a lot of work, haven't they, in this first half, doing the mopping up. Oh no! Now Kawasumi. O'Hara's going to win that race. Very coolly done. And the converted left back.
And that's where Christy Rampone's pace is just so important to that back line. How many times have we seen her just clean up things? Someone's beaten and there comes Rampone. to clean it up.
Look at a space here for Kawasumi. Lovely run outside by Kinga, who's through here. And Solo down to make the save, but Kinga on the follow-up has put the Japanese in front. They finally undid the United States defense with a wonderful sequence of passes, and Kinga applied the finishing touch.
And you could feel it coming. Japan in its rhythm, playing, knocking. This is the right back getting forward. Mind you, the success they've had, Samashima on the other side. Nice ball across, and Kinga, the right back, there to finish it off. What a great little touch in, too. Solo making that first save, but Kinga there for the finish. And Japan really deserving that after that first 30 minutes for them.
It's only Yukari Kinga's 5th international goal in some 77 games. She's one of the stars of the show in the knockout rounds, for sure, for Japan in Germany. Norio Sasaki, particularly the game against Germany in the quarterfinals. Once again, Japan have found a way to do damage to the United States.
And this will be a good test for the United States, because that back line for the U.S., especially with Kelly O'Hara still learning that left back position, and lapel bit being moved over to the right side, they need some time together. It's going to take a while. You can see they're a little bit off. Some of them are stepping, some of them are still deep. And so Japan having an easier time getting through than normal.
Well, Shannon Box is struggling to get up after this challenge. Shannon Box, stay with us at half-time, because we're going to run an in-depth feature on Shannon Box, including Shannon speaking out publicly about an issue she's been dealing with for the very first time. That's not to be missed with Shannon Box at half-time here. Looks like she's managed to just walk off the knock from Tanaka initially. Japan, by the way, after beating the United States in that Algarve Cup game, went on to the final, which they lost to Germany. So Germany got some revenge against Japan in the final. It was an amazing final as well. They won 4-3. With 3 of the goals coming in the last 3 minutes of the game. Here they are in front, and looking for more. Miyama on the prowl. Tracking back from Heather O'Reilly puts an end to that attack. And the Pelbet provides the outlet. Alex Morgan. With the shouts of turn, Abby Wambach with it played to her feet, and well, she followed through there on Kumagai.
And this is what happens when Abby Wambach gets a little bit frustrated. She comes back into midfield to get the ball, and then isn't high enough to receive it. What a nice little ball in there by Kawasumi to start this off. Look at this little touch. Beautiful. And Hope Solo has to play that near post, because Kinga's threatening that near post, so she can't cheat that cross.
And she made a pretty amazing save, didn't she, on the initial shot, with her hand behind her back, but the rebound fell very kindly for Kinga, who did the rest. Now our MLS coverage will continue on Saturday. Our MLS game of the week should be a special one indeed. Kansas City against the LA Galaxy. Sporting Kansas City, one of the powerhouses of the East, at Livestrong Sporting Park. You could join us then. And thank you again for joining us so early on the Sunday morning. Still last night, really, if you're watching on the West Coast.
Middle of my night. U.S. is going to have to adjust at halftime and think about how they can get their outside midfielders more present in this game as well. Heather O'Reilly really quiet.
Kamasumi to have the inside track there, but again the speed of recovery from Christy Rampone.
Lauren Cheney quiet on the other side. Haven't seen much from Abby Wambach or Alex Morgan. That front six really needs to try and get a hold of the ball and create some rhythm for the United States to get them back in this game.
I think we've called the names of Rampone and Bueller more than any other US player, and that can't be a good thing, Julie. There's Rampone again.
And you can see Japan pushing a high line. They're coming forward. They're putting that back line under pressure. It's one of the big scouting reports for the United States. Put that U.S. back line under pressure and they'll cough up the ball a bit. And that's what they're doing.
Cheney. Displaced from the Pelbert, but the US have it back, and Morgan and continue to run. Not going to be able to reach it though. There's been a few of those sort of instances. Julia balls just overhit marginally.
The pace is a little bit off. And I think it has. You could see this field. It's fast. It's slick. You could see it in the very beginning of the game. A lot of players slipping. You mentioned, Adrian, when the players arrived in Japan, there was snow on the ground still.
It's been very cold.
You can see the people in the stands just bundled up.
The sun came out really for the first time a couple of days ago. A US training session. The US team also have visited while they're here some of the scenes of devastation, the memorials that have sprung up. Sendai, very much the epicenter of the earthquake and tsunami that struck Japan in March of last year.
There's the Shannon box header on Nagasato. Talking to Shannon Box, actually, she said it was quite an emotional experience for the U.S. players. She says, you know, you've seen pictures and you hear about it, but being right there, Sendai, as you mentioned, being one of the hardest hit areas.
Well, they have a little over 5 minutes to go in the first half, in which really be able to get going as an attacking force. Maybe they can change that in these last few minutes. So Riley certainly has that in mind, getting to the byline, but they have defended tenaciously, haven't they? Samashima and Kinga. This Kirin Challenge Cup, actually the first such tournament been played in women's international soccer. It has been a men's tournament for the last 2 decades, the Kirin Cup, but for the first time. Here's Alex Morgan now. This is a promising run. One back into Morgan. Didn't need her. Almost found a way to squeeze it in at the near post. First really good look at goal for Alex Morgan.
And this is why she's so dangerous. One, the pace, and then two, look at how she makes this half chance. You would think that there's no angle there, and she still has that on target. Kaihori has to actually knock that wide of the post. Gets a nice little save on there, because that's going in the back of the net. But look at that angle, not much, and she still strikes it with good pace. Good little touch by Kaihori there.
Well, it was a touch that everyone missed, I think. We didn't see it live, but it was an exceptional save, wasn't it? Because you're so right, Morgan's shot was going in.
Referees missed it as well. Goal kick given to Japan.
Yep. Just a little glimmer there for the US, perhaps, of Now they can start to unlock this Japanese defense.
And that's where Alex Morgan has been so incredibly impressive. Is she has put in some big goals at all levels. You know, in the World Cup we saw it this summer at the youth World Cup level.
Well, she was only 8 or 9 minutes away from having the game-winning goal in the World Cup final, wasn't she? So Naga at that stage was still very much using her off the bench. It was felt that was her best role, coming in and providing 20 or 30 minutes of pace and electricity.
Until the first game she started her in that 4-4-2 and she knocked in 2. She said, all right, you've made your case.
Tanaka slid through, and I hope Solo's going to get there first. Nagasato was the intended target.
Another thing I think the U.S. is going to have to talk about at halftime is just how they get some pressure on the ball. Japan able to turn, getting in those gaps. Such confidence when you have such time on the ball. Perhaps dropping their front line, condensing their defensive unit.
Sakaguchi letting the ball do the work there, but Rampone stepping into the breach. Very, very busy first half. We have some more work here. It's Miyama. It's towards goal. Oh no. Thumping header there from Beulah. A deep cross. Needs Hope Solo to get there. She didn't reach it. Got a long way off her line. Went for the one-fisted punch and didn't connect.
That was Kinga again, the right back from Japan, sending that in, and it was a little bit deceptive because it was so loopy. It hung up there for a long time. You could see Hope Solo running out there saying, am I ever going to get to this ball?
Kawasumi's not going to reach that. 2 goals for her at the Algarve Cup. So many of these US players who are on the bubble, on the fringe, playing for places potentially in the Olympic squad. There's this game in Brazil on Tuesday. And then a big tune-up against China in Philadelphia that's just been announced. There aren't that many games left for players to really make their case.
No, and I think this lineup is going to be pretty close to what you're seeing at the Olympics. A lot of competition for that outside midfield position. You still have Amy Rodriguez on the bench, Megan Rapinoe on the bench, Tobin Heath.
There's someone who's going to miss out on that.
But it's a great problem to have when you see the depth of this U.S. squad. Where I thought they'd take another look is at that outside back position and maybe infuse some younger players. Cami Levin from Stanford, and very good outside back. It might be too late for that, though. They might be saving those types for the next wave post-Olympics.
Final few seconds of the first half here. Again, a reminder, do stay with us at halftime. We'll have Max Bretos and Tony DeCicco in the studio. Also a fascinating feature with Shannon Box, which is, I promise you, not to be missed. A full first half highlights too. And it's a first half that will have the US with plenty to ponder. The goal from Yukari Kinga, giving the Nadeshiko of Japan yet another lead against the United States. 1-0 after 45 minutes. Let's send it to the studio. Max Bretos.
A few signs suggesting that the USA is ready to reestablish their historic superiority over Japan. Down 1-0. What went wrong with the U.S. on that goal?
Well, it was, first of all, a good goal by Japan. They can possess the ball, and they're doing a much better job of possessing the ball in front of the U.S. penalty area. It's one of the things U.S. has to do better at the other end of the field. But a great little touch here. Kinga breaks in. I really like her look to make that pass, and then she just pounces on the loose ball and puts it away. Hope Solo actually makes a pretty good save here. But that Kinga's on it, and it's a good goal by Japan.
What would you like to see the U.S. work on in the second half? The list may be lengthy.
Well, no, I think the U.S. has to get more set pieces, and they started to do that. In their period of dominance, they were getting set pieces, a number of corner kicks. They have to put more defensive pressure on Japan, especially in Japan's back players. And then the third thing is better possession in front of Japan's penalty area so they can slip some balls through.
45 minutes in the books of Japan. Yukari Kinga with the goal. Coming up, Shannon Box setting the record straight. We'll let you know exactly what has ailed her during her playing career. Very interesting. Listen. Welcome back. Halftime in Japan in the inaugural Kirin Challenge Cup. The Japanese leading the United States, looking for a third triumph on the trot at the half. We'll get you back out there here shortly for the second half. Now, for those who suffer from lupus, day-to-day activities can become increasingly difficult. For those pursuing an athletic career, specifically in soccer, it's a good enough reason to hang up the boots. Watching Shannon Box play, no one would ever expect that she would suffer from such a disease. You're about to find out. There's much more to the midfielder than meets the eye.
Shannon Box, and a goal for the U.S.
This is picture perfect by Shannon Box.
Once coined the Iron Woman by her teammates, Shannon Box has been heralded for her dependability.
Box, 2-1 USA.
But her on-field performance has defied a diagnosis she's battled for more than a decade.
First time I felt it was pretty much in 2002, playing the WSA for San Diego Spirit. I just remember how tired I was, and I could barely make it up the stairs.
She was complaining about how tired she was, and that's so unusual for her. We just knew something was wrong.
Shannon was diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome, an autoimmune disease in which the body attacks its own tissue, causing, among other symptoms, extreme fatigue.
It was just a relief to know that I had something, that it wasn't just me being out of shape, you know, not fit enough. My first reaction was like, okay, I can deal with that. It wasn't until 2007 that my illness had progressed enough that now I had lupus as well.
Lupus is another autoimmune disorder that causes joint inflammation and damage to internal organs. It can range from mild to life-threatening. Presently, there is no cure.
I was scared, but I didn't want people to use it as an excuse. I didn't want myself to use it as an excuse. In my past, I hadn't really wanted to tell coaches of what I had, and so I did. I kept it to myself, and I kept it so that they could never use that against me.
Unbeknownst to her teammates and coaches, Shannon continued to play through the unpredictable flare-ups of her disease.
You literally wake up and feel miserable. My joints inflamed, my hands get inflamed. I wouldn't even be able to finish my warm-up because I'd be so tired. It's not easy when it's unpredictable that you're going to have a bad day.
I wanted to protect her, and I didn't know whether her continuing to play soccer and expend all this energy would turn her disease into something that was more serious.
2007 was probably my hardest year, that I was really struggling with, can I keep playing? And I'm going to push through the World Cup, and then I'll see how I feel.
Box steps in, wins it, shoots it, Shannon Boggs!
And during the World Cup, I felt great.
To manage her symptoms, Shannon sees a physical therapist who has created a specialized training regimen designed to work with her occasional limitations.
Shannon's the type of athlete that she's a 100%er every day. And we have to look at 100% on one day is a little different than 100% on a bad day. We wanted to kind of get away from any of the things that would load her joints excessively. We want to make sure that what we're doing here is optimizing her performance on the field.
I think in 2011 was when I started to feel really good.
Can Box do it this time? Yeah, you bet she can.
No longer hesitant to share the details of her disease, Shannon is now open about its challenges with her teammates and coaches, and has recently started to speak publicly about it.
It took me 10 years to come out and say that I have this disease. I'm pretty proud of myself, knowing that I played the game of soccer because I loved it, no matter if I had an illness or not. And I will be even more proud to know that I brought more awareness to the disease.
Another example that some people are just tougher than others. I'm sure others would not have followed the same lead as her, and keeping that secret. What are your thoughts after seeing that piece?
Well, you have tremendous respect for Shannon, because it's not easy to play when you have a condition such as that. And the other thought is, you know, she's had such a wonderful career. It's come from playing in the professional league. I don't know if Shannon Boggs would have ever been a national team player, except she played in the WUSA. We need to get the professional league back so we can get the next Shannon Boggs out of the league.
Indeed. Well over 100 caps from Shannon Boggs, and she's been out there with the U.S. looking to get things right against the Japanese. Right now, 1-0 for Japan. We'll be right back with all the images from Sendai. There's Shannon Boggs ready to go for half number 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sendai. This is the Yotech Stadium. I promise you haven't missed anything. Just the opening few seconds of the second half, with the United States trailing Japan here by a 1-0. This is a rematch of the Women's World Cup final of 2011. That's a memorable occasion in Frankfurt. Adrian Healy joined by Julie Foudy. And the US with a different dynamic to cope with. The last 2 meetings with Japan have featured late goals from the Japanese. This time, well, they've had plenty of time to ponder being a goal down to them at half-time, and Perhaps coming up with a different approach in the second half. Pelbert and O'Reilly, two of the most active players for the US in the first half. And you were saying, Julie, they just didn't possess the ball enough in the middle third of the field, particularly.
No, and you've got to get Shannon Box and Carly Lloyd involved to start finding that front line. Getting Abby Wambach time on the ball. Alex Morgan, here's a good one here.
And Morgan, inside left channel, good reverse pass as well. Jamie battling through a couple of challenges. But it's too strong for O'Reilly. Abby Wambach, who's still the second leading scorer in women's international football of all time. Ashley Sinclair could have caught her up if she'd scored last night for Canada, but she didn't. Now Morgan trying to make an impression.
134 goals for Abby Wambach in 176 games. I mean, her strike rate is phenomenal.
Second all-time in the world, second all-time in the US behind only Mia Hamm. She passed Christine Lilly quite recently.
She's still 24 goals behind Mia Hamm, but if you asked me 6 months ago, I thought she would never get there. She's looking like she could maybe get there.
A few more games against Dominican Republic and Guatemala might help. Extraordinary 14-0 and 13-0 wins for the US to open up 2012 with. Nothing like that on offer here in Sendai, where the US come back from a goal down.
And here's a great opportunity for the US to get back in this game. So strong on set pieces.
Trying to organise the wall. It's Carly Lloyd who kills it. And she so nearly got that right. Just onto the roof of the net it went.
Kaihori coming off her line a little bit, anticipating maybe she's going to drive it in, and Carly Lloyd just trying to float it over her.
She's been working her way up the goal-scoring chart, Carly Lloyd. She's now 11th all-time in US history with 35. She scored that 2008 winner in the Olympic final against Brazil. Defending that gold medal, of course, in London this summer. Without Germany, won't it? Because their early knockout last summer at the World Cup.
Yeah, how about that? You lose in the quarterfinals in a World Cup you're hosting, and then that also eliminates you from the Olympics. Oh.
Double jeopardy, wasn't it?
Heartbreaking in for someone like a Birgit Prinz, who's had such an amazing career with Germany for so many years.
Positive start by the US. The Japan team pressed back on their heels to start this second half. Didn't see much of that in the first half, did we? Came out with renewed vigour. Shannon Box. A remarkable half-time feature you put together of us, Julie, with Shannon Box. I know you played with her early in her career. Did you have any idea back then what she was going through?
I had no idea. I actually said to her in the interview, she said it started back in her San Diego Spirit days in the early 2000s. I mean, this has been something she's been dealing with for 10 years. It started as Sjogren's syndrome, as we said in the feature. She said in the feature. And I said, why didn't you tell anyone? Because you need people around you. I remember the days of Michelle Akers when we would be kind of the monitor for her with her chronic fatigue and Epstein-Barr, and you could tell she'd just glaze over her eyes. And she said, I thought people would use it as an excuse. I didn't want them to say, oh, she has lupus, she's done. And you can understand that. But to keep that in for almost a decade, there were a few teammates that knew. Christy Rampone being one of them, and she told Pia Sundhage right away when she took over as the coach, and she's been great with it. But
remarkable story, really, and she could go out with a gold medal this summer in London. That'd be the perfect ending to the story.
And she said, I'm ready to finally speak out about it and hopefully give others hope who have the disease.
States with Pia Sundhage. Another very good look here at one of their main rivals for Olympic gold. Here's Alex Morgan. She's almost around the back. That was a last-ditch challenge from Yano. Morgan again has provided the main attacking thrust.
And there you see Abby Wambach, though. Look how deep she is. She's coming back into midfield when she wants that ball. And so what happens is Morgan is then left on her own on that front line. So if the U.S. as a unit can get a little bit higher to get some more numbers around that penalty box.
Here's the corner now. Wambach, of course, was the target, inevitably. Shannon Box going to create a second opportunity. Lapel, but didn't get hold of the cross in the manner in which she wanted, but this sharp challenge. Lloyd won the tackle, but then couldn't keep it in play. But more encouraging signs so far in the second half.
And their pressure defensively looks better, too.
Japan, again, if you're just joining us, without their inspirational captain, their really figurehead, Omare Sawa, has picked up a rather obscure form of vertigo, and she's kept her out for the last month. This was the goal late in the first half from Kinga after a good initial save from Hope Solo. Nothing she could do about the rebound. The US really just with one meaningful goal-scoring opportunity in that first half. It was a fine save, in fact, from Kaihori to deny Alex Morgan.
And as you mentioned, Adrian, without Sawa, the confidence you get from a game like this, because that's something they're going to have to look at, depending on how this vertigo proceeds with, and if she's able to play. But an Olympics without a Hamari Sawa is something the Japanese team hasn't even considered, I bet, yet. 5 World Cups, MVP of this last World Cup, and Golden Boot, and
she's a true celebrity in Japan. An icon, really, has risen above the game.
Japan still pressing high.
Waited. Bolcini providing the outlet. And it breaks down as Kawasumi comes back to intervene. Minutes into the second half. The Japanese team, who hadn't beaten the United States in 25 tries, looking for their 3rd consecutive victory against them. Sakaguchi. That's clever from Kawasumi. Did you get here anywhere, though? It's back with Miyama. First concerted spell of pressure and possession. Japan in the second half. Yano. Samashima on the ball. Was briefly with Tony DeChico and the Boston Breakers last summer. Now plays with the French club Montpellier. That's a loose clearance which Alex Morgan has latched on to. She was hoping to find Abby Wambach. Heather O'Reilly may have the same aim in mind. She does put the ball in the right spot, but Wambach couldn't make serious connection.
And what a poor pass by Kaihori. Alex Morgan does well and just trying to find Wambach on that back post. Two crosses, Heather O'Reilly on the other side. That just can't quite connect, and that seems to be the issue for the United States, that last pass, just a step off.
It's run into space. Cheney, can she use it? She can't. Did the cross first time, off balance. Chidi, 2 goals and 3 assists in the World Cup. Get our English Premier League coverage continuing. A big one on Monday afternoon. Manchester United can really take a firm grip on the title race, can't they, if they beat Blackburn Rovers? Won't be easy though. Blackburn battling against the drop. That's Monday, 2:55 Eastern. ESPN 2 and ESPN 3. Over her heading into the World Cup. But she really stepped up, and she
had a great World Cup. And they had been going back and forth with Fukumoto, the other goalkeeper, who they still use quite often. She played actually in the Algarve Cup against the United States. That had been a real problem area for Japan in the past, to the point of they were recruiting basketball players and volleyball players to try and find some height and a skill set for goal.
Kaihori famously saving those 2 penalties in the shootout in Frankfurt. Shannon Box and Tobin Heath. So Hope Solo is the hero in the quarterfinal in a similar manner. The United States will be facing Brazil again Tuesday in their second game here. See the first change of the game momentarily with Kozue Ando standing by. Kamiyama. There's a handball involved there from Nagasato.
And Japan holding the ball so well that the U.S. isn't even able to make it a physical game. They can't even get a body on the ball, which is really to the U.S.'s disadvantage, because if they can make it a physical battle, the U.S. is going to win that one. It's just something they've been really successful in the past in doing. Disrupting Japan's rhythm with their athleticism, size.
I think back to last May, just before the World Cup started, and they very successfully did just that against Japan twice in those friendlies played in the United States.
And that was coming off the tsunami only a couple months after it. And I remember saying to Ian Dark, they looked like they were still in a fog from it, understandably so. And wondering if they could recover in time from the World Cup. We've seen just how well they recovered.
Ando is on. It's a straight switch up front, replacing Nagasato. So it's one player who plays club football in Germany replacing another, because Ando plays in Germany with Duisburg.
And Ando is a nice replacement to bring in. Nice subs. 3 World Cups under her belt, a veteran of this Japanese team.
Nice overlapping run. And oh no. Determined defensive work as well. She was going to surge through midfield, but she lost out. He's really danger here for the US transfer number 2 for Karasumi, who pulled it just wide. All came from the giveaway.
And Miyama, you think she's going to strike it from this distance, but what a nice slip ball. And really, that has to be finished, because that could put away the United States for Japan in that 60th minute. Beautiful ball in by Miyama to slip her through.
Weight of the pass is a real treat. That's not too bad either, but quick thinking from Kai Mori. Had to be quick as well, because it was Alex Morgan she was up against.
If Kai Mori's not 30 yards out, Morgan may be in on that one.
Karasumi. Nicely angled pass as Japan start to find their groove again here. Past the hour mark here in Sendai at the Yurtek stadium that did suffer some damage in the earthquake just over a year ago. The US women's third visit to Japanese soil, their first since 2006. They won 2 games here, 3-1 and 1-0, and you were part of the 1998 team that came here, Julie, and won all 3 games.
It's a great country to visit. We had a great trip, I remember that. Remember much these days, so that's impressive. I remember it.
Carly Lloyd. To make this trip memorable, but look at the equaliser, Kelly O'Hara. Decided to try her luck. Hasn't scored yet for the national team, even though, as you said, she was a prolific striker at college.
And a glimpse, though, of what she can do. Consistently at Stanford in the 20s in terms of goals scored. Impressive levels. And that's what I like about her potential as a left back. She's still learning the position.
Is that a worry for you, Julie, that the 2 fullback positions are one where there appear to be a huge amount of depth? To that in a minute. Is to stymie that Japanese attack, which he did again.
I do think for such a strong and deep U.S. squad, it is the one area that they lack depth. You lost Ali Krieger, as we mentioned earlier, in the Olympic qualifiers with a terrible, horrific tackle to a knee injury, and she looks to be out for the Olympics. And it's just a position they already weren't that deep at.
O'Hara trying to be the answer on the left side, trying to keep Karasumi in check. Skillful play from Endo. Options here for her. She really didn't pick the right one, and Hope Solo was able to gather unchallenged. 3 Japanese players waiting to apply the killer touch there.
And Ando already in her first 5 minutes on the field making a difference.
Cheney will navigate her way through some congested territory. Seen a lot more of the ball, haven't they, in the second half? Those midfielders, Lloyd, Cheney in that box in particular. 20 minutes into the second half, still Japan leading through Yukari Kinga's goal. third consecutive success against the United States. Errant clearance from Bueller. No damage done. Now on past that is Alex Morgan, takes it inside. On the left foot. See the instinct she has to go for goal there.
You love that hunger too. And you can see her try and set it up on that preferred left foot. She can strike him well, and it looks like you can see that field is choppy right there. Looks like it hopped up on her a bit.
Already 21 goals in just 36 international appearances. Alex Morgan. As the switch is made here. Samashima has come off. Replaced by Ariyoshi. Sari Ariyoshi will presumably slot in at left back. It's a straight replacement. And she is facing down Heather O'Reilly for the first time. Alex Morgan. To Lepelbich. Really good test this for the United States. Mental strength. Been on the wrong end twice in a row for Japan. So determined to make amends. And a lot longer to think about trailing in this game than they have in previous encounters.
And you love this as a player when it happens in April rather than obviously a World Cup or Olympics. But these are what make you grow stronger as a group.
Slipping around Christy Rampal. The defensive cover was sufficient. O'Hara coming across. Those quick combination passes, great movement off the ball. Japan such a difficult team to play against.
And every time as the U.S. seems to get the ball back, they quickly turn it over again. And as we talked about earlier, that just gets so frustrating as a player because you end up chasing so much. It's exhausting.
Oh no. Dragus go down here. Solo has to make a save at the feet of Kawasumi to keep the United States within touching distance.
And Ando wanted that ball in there because you're going to see Kawasumi in. And if she can just cut it here, Ando is in. Instead, she's trying for the shot. Kawasumi doesn't see that behind her. All she needs is to cut it. Good save by Hope Solo off her line.
A couple of times she's been called into emergency action. One back. It's up to meet the corner. Yeah, a second cross that follows shortly. So it's more testing. It's not really dealt with. US escaping without any damage there. Sakaguchi probably feels she should have done better.
And the U.S. with another poor clearance. We saw it earlier in the game, this one from Christy Rampone. And Japan not finishing this game off. Three great opportunities to put this game away.
That goes about equaliser in the World Cup, wasn't it? In the final. Is it cleared? Should be Hope Solos and is.
U.S. slow to close down these crosses. Another dangerous one in for Japan.
Solo limping a little bit.
Looked like she got clipped on her calf there coming out for that one.
Nicole Barnhart and Ashlyn Harris are the other goalkeepers of this US squad in Japan. Oh, it's sloppy. It's a gift to Bobby Wambach. Carly Lloyd trying to drive through. She's done so. She managed to get a clean looking goal. And then hit her effort right at Kaihori.
bit of sloppy play. Abby Wambach taking advantage of it. Good little touch in by Carly Lloyd. Yano, the defender for Japan, trying to just block her out, but
she got round the back of Yano, didn't she? And she was able to stare down Kaihori.
And those are those gifts as a player when Japan isn't able to finish that often go in your favor.
The crowd there. Sento really lapping up that challenge for Ariyoshi. Here's one back to Shannon Box. Now Carly Lloyd again. Alex Morgan is equalised. But no, it's not going to count. The offside flag coming up to deny her. And she is wondering, and so are the other US players, whether this was the same phase of play. And I have to say, that is debatable, Julie.
That is close. She's looking like that's even, which is on. And you can see the US team not happy about that call.
Well, they're given the goal now because the referee has come across and I think has changed his decision to a goal. It smiles all around eventually for Carly Lloyd, rather for Alex Morgan, and this is why.
Looks like it almost comes off a Japanese player as well, which is probably why the referees had a discussion. And there it is, off a Japanese defender. Two gifts given to them by sloppy play from Japan, and Alex Morgan is not going to let that opportunity escape her. Nice left-footed finish on her preferred left foot.
It was head in hands initially, wasn't it? She saw the flag go up, but to credit the match officials, they've got that absolutely right. The Japanese officiating crew, Li Juan, the referee. It's not often you can see a referee come across to an assistant and converse when it comes to an offside decision. Tobin Heath has come on for the United States in the aftermath of that equaliser. And Alex Morgan continues her remarkably proficient and prolific 2012 with yet another goal.
And Tobin Heath actually came in for Shannon Box, which moves Lauren Cheney inside.
1-1, but Japan immediately on the hunt for a response. That substitution, Tobin Heath for Shannon Box, is our Gatorade Recover substitution of the game. Tobin Heath coming on to win her 41st cap. Most of them have been in a substitutes role. She was the youngest member of the Olympic squad 4 years ago.
And how often, Adrian, in soccer do we see this happen, where Japan has 2-3 really good looks to finish the game off, and you just get punished in this game if you can't do that.
A little bit of role reversal perhaps from the World Cup final. The United States had all those chances.
Two leads that they lost. The last one with just 3 minutes left in the game, in extra time, overtime.
Really, their more recent encounter in the Algarve Cup was a similar story. Chances that came and went, the US dominating in many respects. And the late header from Megini to Takasi, the 84th minute, that gave Japan the win. So we may see Takasi late in this game. So Yukari Kinga, who has the only goal of the game for Norio Sasaki. His side. Alex Morgan with the response. Here she is again. Cheney's cross. Really been able to give Abby Wambach anything to work with in the air, have they?
No, all their crosses are just a bit off in there.
It's Miyama. past O'Hara. Slip there from Bueller. Unfortunate, but Japan press on. Miyama. It's angled perfectly. The offside flag has come. Kinga had stayed forward. A bit too far forward. This is the first ever women's Kirin Challenge Cup. There's been a couple of decades of men's Kirin's Cup, always played here in Japan. I think there may be more, especially given that the 3 games for the men's sides last summer produced 0 goals, 3 0-0 draws between Japan, Peru, and the Czech Republic. So
riveting.
Lots to savor here. Sendai, United States, yet find a way to get the noses of Alex Morgan. And, plenty of support there either side of her.
It's been wonderful to see the response, though, in Japan to their team and the crowds.
Every training session in the US has been well attended, greeted almost like heroes by the Japanese team and Japanese public. One interesting thing that was being reported was Abby Wambach visiting the training session of Ainak Kobe, the Leonessa team, for whom Homare Sawa plays. And there's been a lot of reports in Japan that they're actually interested in acquiring the services of Abby Wambach. The Kobe president saying as much they'd love to have her after the Olympics are done.
Of course. No WPS, Women's Professional League in the United States.
Well, Abby Wambach said herself, if the WPS relaunches, of course I'll sign. If not, it's possible that Sawa and I would be teammates. Have to go and play somewhere, don't they?
Reunited again from their Washington Freedom days. Who wouldn't want to play with Sawa? She's so loved by every player around the world because she has such a grace to her. Besides being a wonderful player, I can remember after the semifinal win against Sweden, she was standing in the press conference and someone said, "Sawa, why don't you sit?" She says, "Well, I'm sweaty. I don't want to get the chair sweaty." That's the type of person she is.
I don't know if he'd try and Mario Balotelli, saying the same thing somehow. A little over 10 minutes to go here. 1-1. It's finally poised, isn't it? It's the momentum swinging back for a late surge here from the US to try and win it. Japan have had more of the clear-cut scoring opportunities. Solo has come up with a couple of big saves. It's Morgan. Picked up the nickname Baby Horse. I'm not sure what that's all about, Julie. Can you enlighten me?
No.
Kawasumi. Ando. Kawasumi. Option serve. Oh no. To control the ball. Is it back though? Trying to play the quick give and go. Can Kinga get there? She can't. Always looking to play those quick combination passes around the edge of the penalty area. And so often it's successful.
And how important is it for a player like Kelly O'Hara, shot of her right there, with so few opportunities to learn that left back position to play against such a quality team like this that is constantly pressing you, as you mentioned, Adrian, with those quick, tight combinations on that back line. And they punish you if your line isn't together and compact.
It's going to be a double switch here for Pia Sundhage, and going to get a chance to look at another young, striking sensation, even younger than Alex Morgan. He's going to make way here. This was her equalising goal. Rightly ruled onside eventually. But Sydney Leroux is going to come on in her place. Leroux has made an explosive start to her national team career. 7 goals in 8 appearances, but 5 of them, we should say, did come in that blowout win against Guatemala.
And at one half, she comes in as a substitution at halftime in your second ever appearance for the United States and puts in 5. I don't care who you're playing. That's impressive.
It's the corner kick for Abby Wambach, who was beaten in the air by Kumagai there. Follow-up cross is Kai Horis. Looks to clear quickly and get Japan on the move.
Sydney Leroux has been coming in typically for Abby Wambach late in the game. Instead, today she comes in for Alex Morgan. But she is a fun player to watch because she is feisty. She just battles up front.
All-time leading scorer for the US under 20 international team with 24 goals at that level. There'll be room for her in the 18 that go to London. There'll be room for Tobin Heath. So much competition in certain spots. Tidy layoff for Carly Lloyd. Get the pass away quickly enough. Tanaka. Now the United States here in Japan will play another game on Tuesday morning. We will have it for you as they take on Brazil in a rematch of that classic World Cup quarter-final. 7 a.m. Eastern. Picking up early again, I'm afraid. ESPN2 and ESPN3.com will be the place. Brazil, just last week, Julie played a friendly against Canada and lost, actually, in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Hold on for Japan. Kinga. Canada, by the way, also in action last night. Friendly in Sweden against the Swedes, and they lost 3-1 as they continued their build-up towards the World Cup. Or rather, the Olympics, I should say. It feels like the World Cup. Sugasawa coming on, and Utsugi. Double switch. Japanese. Sugasawa, who was not part of the World Cup squad. But Utsugi was. There's another who plays her club football in France with Montpellier. The set-piece specialist. What can she do here? Well, they just play the short ball. Miyama, quick as a flash, latching onto the rebound. Now Kawasumi. Trying to trick away around the pelmet. No, not going to let it happen. Just yet. Third time of asking, still no way around the pelmet.
Great defending by Amy Lepelmet.
Played all 6 games at the World Cup. At left back, Amy Lepelmet. Now seems to be the answer at right back. Pia Sundhage. Heather Mitz perhaps is the only other out-and-out right back in the squad.
And Japan eager, I'm sure, to show that that World Cup victory was not a one-off, that they are here to stay on top of the world. And yet, you're seeing that they just can't finish it off. That was a tale of today. So even though the U.S. hasn't played its best game I've ever seen them play, a couple encouraging signs in that if the score stands, they were able to dig back in a game that wasn't their best. And two, you once again see Alex Morgan coming through in a big game.
The US will have some defending to do. We'll get out of here with a share of the spoils. Corner kicks will always be a concern. The history involved. And Miyama teeing up Sawa for that equaliser late in Frankfurt. It's the same side of the pitch from what that occurred.
About the same time as well. Two post players this time for the United States.
Hope Solo safely gathering. It's an excellent clearance too, but wait to the final couple of minutes. 1-1, you said it, Julie, would be a decent result for the United States, considering how this game really went for them overall.
And they're going to have to look at that back line again. A little bit porous and too easy for Japan to get through. And that's going to be an ongoing challenge for them with, as we mentioned, Ali Krieger being out.
Real hunger and desire to get there and keep that ball in play and turn it into another corner for the Japanese. There'll be more worry. Hope Solo and company. This. It's a great header from Abby Wambach. Played in a drill shot from Kawasumi is just too high.
Miyama hit such a nice ball in because it comes so fast. No one from the U.S. able to get real pressure on that ball. Cheney coming, but Kawasumi just can't keep it down. Those so often we see sky over the crossbar. But it hasn't been for a lack of opportunities tonight for Japan.
They clearly have had the lion's share of the goal scoring opportunities. Staring a third consecutive game without a victory against Japan. There's not many teams directly in that sort of run against them over the years. Here's Miyama. Sakaguchi. Attack LaRue. Asking a lot of Abby Wambach there. There's clearance though. Tobin Heath for the US. Is LaRue with her in support? And into Kumagai. Brazil next to the United States on Tuesday. A home friendly against China that just got announced, Julie. At PPL Park at the end of May.
Trip in Europe, there's talk of coming up soon, but not many friendlies left. probably a send-off in June.
Still those spots up for grabs, Julie.
And there's not going to be a lot of new players she's looking at, if any. This is going to be the group. But still having to chop 5 from this group. You have 23 here in Japan.
It's all over in Sendai, 1-1. Decent results. Perhaps not the best performance, Julie, just quickly.
Not the best performance, but again, you get the tie and you show you can come back playing a game that wasn't probably their strongest for the United States.
Excellent stuff. Pleasure as always, Julie. Thanks for being with us. We'll send you back to some post-game thoughts from Max Britos and Tony DeChico.
Thank you, Adrian, Julie, and Tony. I asked you at the beginning of the day, how does this rivalry keep its legs? And you said Japan keeps its unbeaten streak against the U.S. That's exactly what they did. Although the U.S. do get the equalizing goal in the second half.
Well, they did, and that's important for the USA. But this game, as the game in Portugal, was played at Japan's tempo, and the U.S. has to change that. They do change it at times when they put Japan under pressure, and I think that's where the goal came from. But right now, Japan probably was the better team, missed some opportunities in the second half, and that big goal by Alex Morgan earned the point for the USA.
They're supposed to adjust to us. We have to adjust to them. It's a new day of women's soccer, and that's why the Japanese are the champions of the world. Let's take a look at the highlights from this one. 90 minutes in the opening game from the Kirin Challenge Cup. 32nd minute, just deserves here for the Japanese as they get the breakthrough.
Kinga gets in, good save by Hope Solo, but Kinga jumps on the rebound, puts Japan up 1-0. Nice little build-up by Japan, and they're so good in and around the penalty area. They consistently broke down the USA defense that way.
71st minute. The U.S. did a lot of chasing of the Japanese, but then they started to find some holes in that Japanese defense as Carly Lloyd was denied.
Yeah, Carly Lloyd made a good move here, but it came off of USA pressure in the defensive zone of Japan.
And a minute later, it's the Japanese chasing Alex Morgan. Good officiating on this play, in particular the overrule because of the back pass from Japan.
Right, great officiating, but also, again, USA pressure opened up that opportunity, and Alex Morgan, who is just finding the back of the net, scores that goal, brings the USA back, and a 1-1 tie is a decent result in Japan against the world champions.
10 of the last 18 goals for the United States have been scored by Alex Morgan, and a big one there to salvage the tie. The All-State good hands play goes to Hope Solo as she denies Kawasumi. A couple missed opportunities there, Tony, that probably should have put the game out of reach for Japan. They didn't convert.
They had at least 2 really good opportunities where if they scored 2-0 would have been a long way for the USA to come back.
And certainly Hope Solo aiding them along the way. So 1-1 in the opening match. Both Japan and the United States have a game ahead, and we will talk about the United States' next game on Tuesday morning against Brazil. Pia Sundhage having a word with her team, off and running on the Kirin Challenge Cup. We'll be right back after this. The Kirin Challenge Cup continues on ESPN2, a rematch from the pulsating quarterfinal from last year's World Cup that the United States picked themselves off the mat to beat mighty Brazil. And part of this competition, 3 of the big 4 teams in the nation, Germany not represented, playing each other. 2 days rest between Game 1 and Game 2 for the U.S. What do you expect to see against Brazil?
Well, first, we've got another great rivalry. I mean, these 2 teams, you know, they were in the finals of the last 2 Olympics, USA winning, and of course that quarterfinal match was fantastic, and who can forget the 2007 4-0 blowout, Brazil versus USA. So this is going to be a rivalry match, but we might see some different players. I mean, Amy Rodriguez might get more time. We haven't seen Rapinoe. I think Pia Sundhage has got to get another defender in there, whether it's Sauerbrunn or Mitz, just to add some depth to their defense, and another great game.
And a good chance, as you mentioned, for some of those fringe players to get through. And let's not forget, the United States look for that revenge over Japan. Brazil will be playing with that in hand, and they certainly have the horses to give the United States a real threat.
Yeah, and what's good about this game is it's a different style than the Japan game. Japan, tempo, possession. Brazil's got a lot quicker athletes. Of course, they've got the Marta syndrome, so it's going to be a different type of match.
Well, an exciting day. Yes, the United States share the spoils with Japan. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of Adrian Healy, Julie Foudy, Tony DeChico, I'm Max Bretos. We'll see you Tuesday morning.